Good evening, everyone. Glad to see all your pretty faces out there this afternoon. All right, with that, I will call this City Commission meeting to order at 6:33 p.m. on July 13, 2023. With that, I'm going to ask for a roll call, please, and we will follow that with our invocation and then our Pledge of Allegiance.
Mayor James,
Here.
Vice Mayor Ambrose,
Here.
Commissioner Grinder,
Here.
Commissioner Whites,
Here.
Commissioner Williams.
Here.
All right, we will stand and Commissioner Williams will do our invocation tonight.
Most gracious God, as we come down before you, God, as humble as we know how, God. God, we just ask you to be in the midst of everything being standing down on this night, God. And we just want to say thank you for how you have blessed High Springs, God. Thank you for the staff, God. Thank you for those that serve this community. So again, we just ask you to have that way. And God, lead us and guide us. Give us the wisdom, the knowledge, and understanding, God, and the love for one another. In your sweet holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Williams. All right, at this time, I will entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been properly moved and second that the agenda be approved as printed. All those in favor respond with aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign, please. Agenda approved 5-0. Next item is approval of consent agenda.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda for minutes for June the 22nd, 2023 Commissioner meeting.
Second.
It has been properly moved and second that the consent agenda be approved as printed. All those in favor respond with aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Consent agenda approved 5-0. Item E is special presentation. Invitation to the National Night Out of 2023.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and Commissioners.
Good afternoon.
All right, so I'm here on behalf of Chief Shepherd tonight to extend the invitation to our 2023 National Night Out event. So National Night Out is an annual community building campaign that promotes police community partnership and neighborhood camaraderie to make our neighborhoods safer and a more caring place to live. National Night Out enhances the relationship between the citizens and law enforcement while bringing back a true sense of community. Furthermore, it provides an excellent opportunity to get the police and citizens together under unfavorable circumstances. The High Springs Police Department would love to invite everyone out to come out and join us for a fun-filled night at the Civic Center in High Springs. There will be free food for everyone, games, face painting, and water slides. So we hope y'all come out and join us. Thank you.
It's usually a fun evening when we do that every year. So please find time and mark your calendar so you can come out and spend some time with us. Thank you. All right, let's move along to next item, which is unfinished business. Item number 1, ordinance 2023-05.
Madam Mayor, this is an ordinance of the City of High Springs, Florida, amending the official zoning map of the City of High Springs Land Development Code as amended, relating to the rezoning of less than 10 contiguous acres of land pursuant to an application Z23-01 by the property owner of said acreage, providing for rezoning from PD plan development to R1 residential of certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of High Springs, Florida, repealing all ordinances in conflict, providing severability, providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass ordinance number 2023-05 upon its reading by title only. And Madam Mayor, this is a quasi-judicial procedure, so anyone who wishes to talk about this, testify, has to be sworn in.
Okay.
If there's anybody in the audience that intends to speak on this matter, if you'll stand up and raise your right hand. And Ashley, I see, has her right hand up, so
Okay.
it looks like she's our only
She's the only one I
witness.
see.
So do you plan to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Ashley's been duly sworn, Madam Mayor. And we should start with going through real quick any ex parte communication as well.
Okay. Starting down here with Commissioner Grunton on there?
None since the last meeting, sir.
None for me.
Nothing here.
No.
All right, we're ready.
All right, we are ready. Okay, go right ahead.
Okay, so Mayor and Commission, this is the zoning case that was heard last time at second reading. It's the property along 222nd Street next to Bridlewood. It's actually right now part of Bridlewood and was part of Tillman previously. The property owner would like to change it to R1. Staff is recommending approval because it abuts R1 currently and has R1 to the south, so it makes sense. So staff is recommending approval.
Thank you. Commissioner comments? Nobody? Audience comments? I see no hands. All right, roll call vote. Yeah?
No, we need a motion.
I mean-
I'll, go
Go
ahead.
ahead. I was going to make a motion that we accept the new ordinance.
I'll second it.
All right, now it has been properly moved and second that ordinance 2023-05 be approved. All right, now, yes,
Yes.
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 all right. Ordinance approved 5-0. All right, our next item is number 2, which is ordinance 2023-07.
Madam Mayor, this is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of High Springs, Florida, amending the City of High Springs Code of Ordinances, Section 74-3, restricted use of vehicles, imposing vehicle travel restrictions on Northwest 186th Avenue, providing for severability and providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass ordinance number 2023-07 as read by title only.
All right, thank you. Discussion? No, nothing? All right, ordinance comments? Questions? No? Okay. Motion?
I make a motion, we approve ordinance 2023-07.
Second.
All right, it's been properly moved and second that ordinance 2023-07 be approved. Roll call?
Yes.
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 Commissioner Williams?
Yes.
Mayor James?
Yes. Ordinance approved 5-0. Okay, our next item is citizens' requests and comments for issues that are not on the agenda. Please state your name for the record and limit your comments to 5 minutes, please. Good evening.
I'm here tonight to talk about what you just passed as far as the parcel being approved to be an R1. I'm not talking about the fact that you're changing it to R1. What I'm here about is the issue of a mobile home possibly being put on that property. And I'm here to indicate what my objections are to that. I understand that is not something that the commission can decide, that it is an administrative decision, but I want to put it on the record as to the objections for any possible approval of that. Not too long ago, I sent an email to city manager outlining, after I did some detailed research on this. At the last meeting, it was indicated there were 2 mobile homes out there. Both those mobile homes are 30 years old, at least 30 years old. I know of one of them that's definitely there. The property appraisal records indicate that it's a mobile home and that it is at least 29 years old. The other mobile home that was referred to, it was indicated it was 30 years old. I searched the parcels around that area where this R1 was just approved, and I could not find any listing of a mobile home, just site homes. Now, maybe it's there and it's just not on the property appraiser's records. I do want to show or share with you in summary, the objections I made to this, just so it's on the record. And that is that, first thing is that the area around there are all homes, except for these possibly 2 old mobile homes. They were actually built prior to development of the surrounding properties. Those surrounding properties, other than the Tillman side, had rules that you could not put a mobile home on those properties. The acceptance or the allowance of putting a mobile home on that property would set a precedent for allowing other mobile homes to be put in that area, I believe. You have other parcels there that have not been developed. And once a mobile home goes there, then I think you would be looking at this precedent allowing other mobile homes to be there. The gentleman that was asking to have a mobile home on that property was indicated he plans to build a home in 3 to 5 years there. But we don't know that that's going to happen. That mobile home could be there again for 30 years. There was a previous request several years ago, many years ago, I would say, for a mobile home to be put on Mr. Tillman's property, not on this specific parcel, but on Tillman property, and that was denied. And the other issue is that it was stated that there will be trees blocking it. Well, with the development of Bridlewood and the possible development of that road having to be developed, those trees more than likely will disappear and you'll be seeing a mobile home. And the last thing I would like to indicate to you or state to you is that that's going to bump up right up to Bridlewood, or Bridlewood's going to bump up to that, which are all homes. Site-built homes, not mobile homes. So I do not think that it is appropriate for a mobile home to be allowed in that area. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
David Lynch. I gave a piece of paper to each one of the commissioners. It's entitled Emily's Corner. Emily's Corner is a column that appears in Alachua County Today each week. Let's read together the underlined part, the part that's underlined in red. I saw 3 upcoming home developments. I just hope every facet of all the developments have been thought out. I know some of the folks heading all this up, and they have fantastic thoughts and plans running around in their heads. But have we thought it? But have we thought of it all? My other concern with all this development is providing an education for all the children who will live in these homes. So this shows that I'm not the only one that's concerned about excessive development. Emily Matthews, the author of Emily's Corner, is concerned about it. And just let's repeat this, but have we thought of it all? I like the way she put that. Have we thought of it all? The degradation of the springs is one thing that she did not mention in her column. I just don't know if she had thought of that or not, but the degradation of the springs is something to think about when you think about development. Each new house that is built takes water away from the springs. I urge the commissioner not to approve any more large developments. The people of this community want to keep High Springs as a small town. Moving on to another subject, High Springs Brewing. Do the commissioners want the name of their community the name of their city associated with a product that kills 400 people each day.
Thank you.
My name's Lanier Smith, Madam Mayor, Commissioners. I don't have anything to complain about tonight. On the contrary,
Okay.
I thought it was worth mentioning that I stayed close in High Springs over the 4th of July weekend. And just in my travels to the pharmacy, the dollar store, Jiffy store, S&S down on 340, and on my own road, I couldn't help but notice all of our first responders, how busy they were. It was hot. Everybody else was out having fun. Police officers in black uniforms to begin with. From my house, I know every time that the fire trucks go out, or the ambulance, or whatever, most of the time they have to pass my house to get down to Jenny or Blue or where somebody's had an accident. But I had forgotten that Chief Shepard and Assistant City Manager Bruce were not going to be here tonight, but I did get a chance to speak with them face to face. And what I noticed was I saw an arrest on the sidewalk in front of CVS. I saw a DUI right on my street. And I was thoroughly impressed with two officers that were, these guys, they go down there and direct traffic at 340. You know, I've come here and spoken about what a mess it is, and y'all know what a mess it is. Those two officers down there directing traffic, and there was a pickup truck, unfamiliar to me, that backed up in the walk-through area right in front of the S&S and opened both their doors and were blaring at full volume, some very vulgar, nasty. The clerk inside could not even do her job. Couldn't hear the customers. It was just, and guess what? That group of people came to High Springs looking for some trouble, and they found something, and it was the High Springs Police Department. But I want to say I was so impressed with the officers, how they kept their composure and their professionalism through that whole incident. And that's just me staying home for a weekend and driving across town. So I'd just like for everybody to recognize the first responders in this town. We have an incredible team here, if you just open your eyes and see what they deal with. So that's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, I'm about doing the same thing. I was asked, and it was my 42nd year doing the 4th of July parade in Brantford. And the chief, both chiefs, the fire chief, the assistant city manager, and the chief was out there helping us out. After that, I was invited to the 4th of July, known as the best little fireworks in America. I've added to it the best little fireworks in the world. Guess who was there to help them out?
Yeah.
High Springs Fire Department was there. High Springs Police Department was there. We had some city council people there to help out. And hey, this ain't High Springs, it's them. So hey, I'm right with my buddy from the Lions Club that does a lot for the community. We need to honor and remember them there. We got not some of the best in the community, the county, the state, America, in the world working here. And my other thing is, it's a crying shame. You might be in this bracket. Do you know what your grandma, grandpa, your brothers, your sisters, your loved ones, your family, your friends are doing right here in High Springs? This is a disgrace to America. are going to bed at night without anything to eat. And they might go a couple of days. And we got one of the best food banks right over here. They don't have food, or they run out of food, they're not getting food. It's a disgrace, because America is the richest country in the world. But they're gonna feed the illegals. They're gonna feed them. They're gonna give them free room and board. You know, give them an education. If they can't speak English, that's all right. We'll get some of your people to train them and take care of them. But the Bible says you gotta help yourself before you can help somebody else. So, that means Americans. It's a disgrace. If y'all don't mind, one of them, Madam Mayor, or our city manager, saying it is a disgrace that they do not get food here for people. And these people that are giving out the food are volunteers. They don't get paid. And I had a lady cry, upset, because the people are coming in here cussing them out, threatening them. It's not the people's fault. They're hurting. They need food. And we got enough food here. We got the best, not in the community, county, state, or in America, we got the best farmers in the world, right here in Florida. So let's stand up for them and make sure our friends and loved ones get something to eat. That is a disgrace. And I want to thank every one of y'all for what doing. And I'm here for the main topic. We're going to probably have some fireworks. And I want to thank Big Bad John of Channel 20 over here. I called him, and he got them out here. And there's going to probably be some fireworks going on when it comes to the Priest Theater. Have a good night. We'll see you at the next agenda.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Commissioners. Brought some notes to keep me on topic today. One of the things I'd like to discuss about was a comment made by Commissioner Grunder at the last meeting at the end. He brought to, and I'm going to paraphrase a little, he brought to our attention that we can do better in our meetings with regards to respect and integrity in our discussions. And that really hit home for me, primarily because I agree 100%. We need to do better. And in my background, I've worked for large corporations, small corporations, but most of the time when you're trying to blend cultures, it makes it really difficult to be, I guess, aggressive towards someone when you don't know anything about them. So part of the reason I want to stand up here is that what helped me in that corporate environment was finding out the story of the other person. And then therefore, I had a better perspective in how to effectively communicate with them and understanding their circumstances. Now, over the past 6 months, I've gotten to know a handful of you, and I have a better appreciation than when the first time I stood up here in front of you all, and it's on video, so you guys can probably check it out. I'm not proud of that day. I didn't know. So what I really like to do is try to find out more. In other words, what I suggest is that we take a little moment, the commissioners, and help us understand a little bit of your story so that when we stand here, we know exactly kind of the person we're discussing. And if you can, let us know why you're on the commission. It's definitely not the paycheck, because you don't get that much money. How long you've been on the commission? What are some of the things that motivates you to stay on the commission and get engaged with the city? I think if we, the people, get to hear some of that from you, we'd have a much better perspective on the challenges that you have, and therefore we'll have a better tool to communicate with. And personally, I'll share my story. I don't know if you might know me just as the pizza guy around the corner, but I've been blessed to be married to my wife for 25 years, and we're raising 7 children. We're all under one roof for now. We're trying to get them out. I need that space. But as I said, I worked at large corporations, small corporations. The Stakeout happens to be the 7th small business that I've opened in the last 20 years. So I kind of have an entrepreneurial background. I like to volunteer at my church, so those are the things that kind of motivate me. Honoring God with the way my walk is and sometimes my speech. But that's a little more about me. So when we have meetings, you know me. Hopefully you guys can spend a minute or two giving us a little more of your story. Thank you.
No? All right. Do we have any commissioner response?
Madam Mayor, I feel like Mr. Connolly left kind of a dangling question out there. Is it appropriate for us to answer it this time shortly, or do we?
That's why I didn't address it. I don't know. I was going to find out.
Mr. Attorney, is that appropriate?
So choose, you certainly can respond.
Do you have?
I'll start.
Okay.
Never have a problem talking. That's why I'm up here. No, I'm just kidding. Tristan Grunder, 38 years old. I'm born and raised in High Springs. Proud to say that I've been here for 38 years. I'm currently a law enforcement professional. I've been with the Gainesville Police Department 12 years. I was with the Sheriff's Office 3.5 before that. I'm up here because I absolutely love this town. And there were some things happening that I wasn't happy with. And to put my money where my mouth is, I gave up time. I gave up other positions that I was currently holding at the time in order to sit up here. Happily married to my wife. I have a 13-year-old son and an well, she just turned 9, so don't let me mess that up, 9-year-old daughter. And we're extremely busy, but I absolutely love serving this town. And I've been on this commission. I'm the new guy. I just got here in November, so the citizens looked out for me and I guess believed me when I told them why I was going to do it. And most of the citizens, I think, who voted for me probably helped raise me. So, like I said, I absolutely love this town, and that's why I'm up here.
I'll go next since I'm here. Catherine Whites, I've been here 28 years, married to my husband. I'm not going to tell you how old I am. The young'un can do that. 3 kids, 22-year-old son who thinks he knows everything, 20-year-old daughter who is my mini-me, and a 15-year-old daughter who keeps us young. The reason I ran, honestly, was water, wastewater, because that's my background. My degree is in chemistry. I've got a lab background. I've got an engineering background. I worked for the engineering firm, Linda Jones, and I worked for the engineering firm that designed the original wastewater treatment plant. So that was my main reason for running. The really cool surprise is how many people I've gotten to know, because the people in this town, I thought I knew a lot of people. I didn't know anything. We have an amazing community, and I've gotten to plug in ways that I never thought I could, and I've been here for, it'll be 2 years. I'm the next to newest guy in November. Thanks.
Good evening. I tell my age, 65, proud of it. Social Security check come. Yes, indeed. Been here all my life. Born and raised High Springs. I tell people I'll probably be buried here. As Christians, I have a love for this community. How many years I've been serving now? 19 years. And the reason, again, like I pastor a church, and some people in the community asked me would I start serving on some boards, which I did start serving on committees, and that's how I got involved in politics. And I'm a person like this. If I can help someone along the way, my life won't be in vain. So I consider myself as a servant to serve the people of High Springs. And when I say I serve the people of High Springs, I don't serve one community. I serve High Springs as a whole, because High Springs is a whole. I have seen many changes, but that's a part of life, I believe. But again, I have great love for High Springs, and I just try to do what's best for the city of High Springs. And if anybody like to get to know me, every Sunday morning I'm down on the street now, here on the corner down there, 11 a.m. You're more than happy to come visit me anytime you would like to. My other occupation, I don't want you to come visit me. I don't want you to come visit me. That'd be your last ride.
That's the last ride.
That'd be your last ride. So, but anytime you like to come visit me at my church, I'd be more than happy to have you. So again, thank you for being the citizens and being concerned about the city of High Springs.
Okay, I am Gloria James, and I was born right here in High Springs. This is my town. I have a 42-year gap in between the time that I left and the time that I came back. I left to go to college. I have a degree in business education and management. After that, I started working for the federal government, for which I'm a retiree. I did my time there. From there, it was time for me to come back here. And of course, from the point that I left and the point that I returned, it was a totally different place. So the only way that I could find out what was going on was to come here to the city commission meeting. And I would be here every time the doors would open and they said it was a commission meeting, because I wanted to know what was happening. And because of that, it got me interested in the way things were going, and I thought that I could be of value in doing a few things around here. So I decided to, after some prodding and pushing and convincing, I decided, okay, let's give it a try. And it turned out really, really well. And I like what I do. I enjoy what I do. And if there's anything I can do, you've heard me say it before, if it's anything that I can do to help you, I'm gladly give it my best. But everything else since I've been here, you know, because I've been out there among you, so you know what's going on. But I'm always here if you need me. Thank you.
Okay, I'm Ross Ambrose. I have lived here in High Springs for 21 years, and I am in my third year of my first term. I do this because they give you free chocolate, which any of you who come early see that I take advantage of. But really, I became a commissioner. I was on the Parks Board. I got involved in the community shortly after I arrived here. So before being elected, I did that for 18 years, was a member of the Parks Board. But also I took up the most obscure hobby, which all of you can relate to and most citizens can't. I came every Thursday night for years to the city commission meetings. And so I sat in the seats right there and watched what went on. And I became very respectful of the process that government requires, and how important the rules, whether it's the comprehensive plan or the land development regulations, or how sometimes Tallahassee really ties as government what we can do and not do. But I decided to run and contribute. And so that is why I'm here. Outside of this, I currently own a company, and I manage that. And my overall background is and how I ended up with that company is in logistics and project management in the entertainment and film business. That's me.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Item number 1 under new business. Discuss, consider, and act on appointing a new member to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board.
Mayor, there's the most recent version, Angela, is up here, because this is the third version since our packet came out?
Because we've
Okay.
continued to get applications that have come in since we sent out the packet last week.
Okay, but we now have 3 openings, correct?
Correct.
And 1 disqualification based on address?
Correct.
Okay,
The alternate also, which she already knows, I have spoken with her.
okay. So we have 3 candidates now, and we have 3 vacancies.
I will just remind you that the actual full seat that's there will only go through till November, and if they want to continue, they'll have to ask to be reappointed when November comes in. Same with one of the alternate positions as well.
Okay, right. Okay, it is.
So,
Okay,
would you like a motion or, and then discussion, or how do you want
everybody finished looking?
Madam Mayor, I have a question. Are any of these people here? If they would like to speak, I don't know if that's appropriate or not, but
I don't know, are any of them here? No? I guess not.
Would you like a motion? Okay,
Yes, we could entertain a motion.
if you'd like a
We don't have any
motion
questions.
for, yeah, it would be discussion.
I don't see anybody hands up. Okay,
I would make a motion, we approve Jeffrey Dobertine to the vacant member position with Valerie Bronstone and James Amato to the alternate position. James Amato would be to the position for 2023 and Valerie for 2024.
I second that.
Madam Mayor, I have a question. Can you tell, do you know any of these folks, Ross? If I can ask you, I'm just trying to figure out how we
No,
decide who goes.
That's fair. No, I went through their applications.
Right, there's a brand new one that I hadn't seen until tonight.
Correct, and I also believe this is nice that they'd actually be able to fill the board.
Yeah.
So I think any citizen willing to step up and fill one of the vacant positions to serve, we should be willing to respect that.
I agree, absolutely. Do the alternates have a vote, or are
No,
they?
the alternates can only vote if one of the 5 regular members is not present.
Mm-hmm.
And traditionally, they've done it, and whichever the first alternate shows up is the one that would fill that spot if there's an open one.
Okay. And your motion is to put Mr. Dobertine in first and then rotate through the alternates through that one as well, so they'd all 3 have an opportunity?
No, the motion is Jeffrey we seat as a current member, and then Valerie and James would be alternates. If it's just one, would end up being reappointed this fall.
So then in the fall, one of the alternates may have the opportunity to slide into that spot if they wanted to switch places?
Yeah, because we'd also have to reappoint Jeffrey.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
we appointed at that time. Mm-hmm. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Everybody understand where we are with the motion? All right, all those in favor, respond with aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. All right, appointments accepted. Next item is number 2. Discuss, consider, and act on Resolution 2023K.
Madam Mayor, this is a resolution of the City of High Springs, Florida, relating to the provision of fire services, facilities, and programs in the City of High Springs, Florida, establishing the estimated assessment rate for fire services assessments for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2023, directing the preparation of an assessment roll, authorizing a public hearing, directing the provision of notice thereof, and providing an effective date. The appropriate motion will be to pass Resolution 2023-K as read by its title only. And as you'll recollect, the attachment, Appendix A, sets forth residential property use categories for a rate per dwelling unit at $223. The non-residential property use categories, commercial is 9 cents per square foot, capped at 40,000 square feet. Industrial is 2 cents per square foot, same cap. Institutional is 16 cents per square foot, and again, the same cap as well. And of course, that's the motion at the appropriate time to pass the resolution as read by title only.
And I think these are the current figures from where we are today, correct?
Yes.
Right.
And nothing has changed from the
Nothing has
previous
changed.
assessment rate.
Exactly. I just wanted to make sure they were aware of that. All right. Commissioners, any questions, concerns, comments?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to ask Diane, how, you've been working on the budget. Yeah. How does this fit in? I mean, are we good?
Not worked on the fire assessment at all. Bruce did that. So that hasn't been built into the budget yet.
So the fire assessment, the general fund always supplements fire. We supplement police all the way, and we have a much way smaller contribution to the fire department. So the fire assessment always only partially pays for fire.
And then in terms of the general fund budget, we're okay so far?
So we're still working on end-of-year estimates. We've been working on that the past 2 days. I mean, we do it every month, but we're still working on it. So I don't want to throw things out about there right now. I'd rather do it in a budget meeting where we have shored things up and are secure in our numbers.
Thank you.
Yes.
So, I mean, with the fire assessment, we can only set a certain rate based on a study that's done, and we have to renew that study every certain number of years. I believe the next time it has to be renewed, and we have to pay for that, will be next fiscal year before we can do this same thing. The question, and I believe staff are planning on this, is when we set this current rate, we maxed it out. And we did that because we knew we were intending to buy 2 new fire trucks. And we were gonna have to take out a loan for that. But one of the things the commission did when we said we were gonna max it out is after, I believe it was the 3 years, so starting next year, instead of it being 100% going into the fire fund, we would create a reserve so that when it comes time to either put new cabs and chassis under these trucks we bought or replace them, we would not have to take out the loan. So we'd be building a reserve for the trucks. So right now, we're not building that reserve. We weren't sure when the trucks would arrive, and we've been reducing the transfer from general fund by using all of these funds to operate the fire department. But next year, not in this year's budget, we won't see it in the 23-24 budget. We'd see it in the 24-25. We would start setting away some portion of money so that when it comes time again, we won't have to take on, approximately $1.5 million loan, because it'll probably be more expensive. So as long as the city staff are still on that plan, and I guess when we talk budget, we can see if we're all still in agreement with that, because we could change it, but we did promise citizens that we would try and get to the point where we're not borrowing to do replacements of equipment we know are gonna be at end of life. So, I mean, I believe we've made a smart decision, and I think citizens see the value in the department we have.
Do we have any questions from the audience? No? Okay. Then,
Get a motion?
you need a motion.
I make a motion, we approve the rates as published, or move forward with this for the resolution. It says 2022K. Is it 2023K? Yeah.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and second that resolution 2023K be approved. Roll call?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, that's okay.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries 5-0. Our next item, number 3, discuss, consider, and act on site plan for Sweat Meats Pole Barn located at 18172 Northwest US Highway 441.
Mayor and Commission, this is a 30 by 30 pole barn behind Sweet Meats Butcher Shop. It's on 1.2 acres, so the setbacks are pretty large, way larger than they have to be. And it will be behind the building where you cannot see it. So that's all there is. Staff is recommending approval.
Commissioner comments, questions? No? Audience? No? All right, moving right along. Yeah, we got to vote on it.
You just mean in general, we're moving right along.
No. All right. Let's have a motion.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion, we approve the addition of the pole barn for Sweetmeats Butcher Shop, please.
Second.
All right, it's been properly moved and second that the approval for the pole barn at Sweetmeats be approved. All those in favor respond with aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, Sweetmeats have been approved.
Madam Mayor, I can tell you that I stopped by to Mr. Gay's place the other day, and it's really, really nice. He's going to have classes. I'm going to get the most amazing wife points for learning how to cook there, how to smoke. It looks really nice.
All right, very good. We'll all be in there.
Neither can the community.
That's right.
When is it supposed to open? 3 weeks. Yeah, come on.
So, I'm Bobby Gay, my wife here, Crystal, we're the owners of Sweet Meat. So very thankful to be in High Springs. So, looking forward to bringing y'all some world-class barbecue and, world-class, butchery. So, gonna be cool. So we'll have, barbecue classes, and essentially, that's what this pole barn is for. It's for, teaching classes and, an area for people to congregate, because we feel that nothing in the world brings people together more than barbecue and grilling outside, cooking some steaks.
Good barbecue.
That's what we're doing. And I compete, so I got the trophies to back it up, so most people don't. So
You guys gonna be doing like custom cuts and stuff like that? Or?
I can custom cut you anything you want. So.
Well, I'm seeing these things about some bacon ribs now.
Well,
Yes.
Yeah, a little secret is, so we'll have bacon brisket.
Come on now.
So we'll let you.
Come on.
So bacon brisket will be one, and then peach cobbler sausage.
Oh,
And then,
yeah.
All right.
Good deal. Hey, thank y'all for letting me speak.
Thanks for your time.
Okay,
I
thank you.
got one question for you.
Sure.
Where did you get the name Sweet Meat?
So I'll speak on that one if that's okay.
Please.
So we have actually a 1-year-old as of last Friday and a 4-year-old, and we were trying to come up with a name, and we're just, we wanted something with the community. I'm from Florida, obviously from Gainesville, and just wanted something to bring in barbecue, family, America. And so every time we tickle our kids, we always say we're going to get your sweet meat. And so that's how we got our name. So again, it just goes to the background of family and bringing some good meat to you guys.
That's awesome. We're excited. We are excited.
We say welcome. Welcome.
Good deal. Thank you.
All right. Okay, item number 4, discuss, consider, and act on preliminary plat for Hidden Springs Villas.
Mayor and Commission, this is the preliminary plat for Hidden Springs Villas. It's a 44-unit townhome development on Railroad Avenue. As you are aware, we did a development agreement and planned development for this property in the last several months. So far, the preliminary plat complies with both. It meets all city regulations required for a preliminary plat. Some of the things in the development agreement and the PD will come at final plat. So it's not all in there at preliminary plat because it's not required, but by final plat, the things that have been agreed to, such as the landscaping and stuff like that, the landscaping plan comes with final plat. But the concept and what they've agreed to is all in, that's required at this stage is all there, and staff recommends approval.
Thank you. Commission comments? Questions? Yes, sir.
So as you move forward with the staff, one of my concerns looking at this, and I think there'll be a welcome addition and they're going to fit a need in the community, is just trash collection. I don't understand where there would be dumpsters and whether one dumpster would serve everybody. There's 44 units here. If they're rolling curbs, that's 88 rolling plastic things in a very small space. So I think how that looks and how that is handled realistically needs to be taken into account as they move forward, especially since, you know, trash is picked up on a different day. And I mean, I just think it's going to be an issue in that tight of space.
So the plan development agreement requires that dumpsters be screened, but it doesn't require you have to have a dumpster over individual trash cans. So I'll let Kim talk about. Kim is with Sycor Engineering, and she's the engineer that worked on this.
Good evening, everybody. Again, for the record, Kim Fisher, 1614 White Dove Drive, Winter Springs. The intent is we're planning to have garages, and so these will be fee simple. And so I think we emailed back and forth. We're going to put something in the HOA docs to make sure people put their garbage cans in their garages afterwards so that they're not sitting out on the street. But just like any other single-family home, it would be curbside pickup, not a dumpster. And then we'll add some language to the HOA docs to make sure people aren't sitting them in front of their garage or leaving them by the street overnight and stuff. We can certainly add language to that so that they have to keep them after trash is collected. They have to put them back in the garage.
I had that kind of same thought, but then I was also looking and I was wondering, is there adequate turnaround for a garbage truck to get in there and get out of there?
There is. We'll do an auto turn analysis, but we have a T-style turnaround,
Okay.
so instead of a cul-de-sac. So that is for fire is a much bigger apparatus than garbage truck.
Right.
So we've already done it, but we actually will submit it at final engineering to make sure the largest fire engine can get in and turn around.
Perfect.
All right, any?
Madam
Okay,
Mayor,
go ahead.
so Kim, can you tell me that tract H right there on the plans, is that the T turnaround?
I got
There at the back?
I don't
Sorry.
think it's on there, right?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out where it is.
The road, the little stub-out road,
Yes.
tract H will be an amenity, but the little stub-out road in front of that, it'll get a little bit longer. I already know it gets a little bit longer in order for fire to come in, turn around.
So
and
at
go
the
back
end
out.
of the development? And will the garages, there'll be single-car garages?
Some will be single, some will be double.
Really? Okay. Will all of the buildings have the same basic mix of?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So far it's planned, each building will be the same.
Okay.
Too early.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Somebody asked a question.
Where it is?
I heard somebody.
It's along Railroad Avenue. Christy, where's Christy at? Do you want to explain more the location?
It's off of Railroad, so it's between where the Gondola Gardens area is over by 222nd and going towards Maine, so it's like off of Railroad.
Hold it, say that again. Where Gondola Garden is,
Gondola Gardens.
going towards,
Between 222nd and Maine, it's about a quarter in. It's in an area that's not developed yet, it's just woods right now.
up by the Blue House almost.
It's over by, where they demoed the house.
Oh, okay, okay. They demoed, Bitterfield's house.
Yeah, I saw
Yeah,
that.
okay, okay. That means I gotta go up there and get my elephant ear. I saw him yesterday and I asked about that. He said, go get it. All right. We all ready? Audience, did I ask audience questions, comments? Come on up.
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Noelle. I wasn't planning on speaking, but I did have a question regarding what you guys were just discussing.
Okay.
if this is gonna be a new development that's here, do you guys have a plan in place to address maybe the additional traffic that may come from having more people here? I don't know if other people have noticed or are in agreement, but it does feel like we have a lot of vehicles here that, especially traffic related to Main Street here, and it's very bogged down. So my concern as someone here is just, where are all these extra people gonna go? I wonder about, I don't know that that's necessarily your purview. I'm a little rudimentary in what you guys actually can do here, but that's just my concern is the road traffic. I want to see High Springs thrive, obviously, and that involves new development. However, I just think that there has to be some additional planning that goes on regarding the influx of people that comes with new development, and I don't know that we currently have the space for that with the given traffic, and especially at high times during the summer when people are accessing this town a lot for some of the things that are wonderful about being here, like the Springs. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, you can.
So in response to that, one of the things this commission did as it continues to hear about new people coming is we now have the highest impact fees of any city in the county or the region. And not only do we have impact fees for water and sewer, we have impact fees for roads, public services like police and parks. And this developer has to pay those for each of these permits. Those revenues will cause us to have resources to be able to address a lot of these issues with those revenues coming in without having to raise taxpayer money to pay for others' impacts. That just started this January, so those funds are starting to build, but that is something we did. And Tallahassee makes it very difficult to implement new impact fees, but that was one of the projects that was led by our city manager and has happened.
Just to give you a little more information on that, as part of adopting the impact fees, you have to do a study. And the study is based on the infrastructure in your community, and it has to be an amount that will be able to pay for the capital projects. There's a lot of data that goes into establishing those fees to ensure that the monies are there and that people are paying for what they bring, like they're paying the cost of services as they come in.
Anyone else?
My name's Sandy Gardner. I'm at 238th Street, across the corner. I guess my biggest concern is that there are so many problems in this town with infrastructure. Before all of this started, years ago, a water pipeline burst twice in front of my house. I have black gunk coming out of my faucets and in my drains. I have filthy shower and just plugs and things in my water. I don't know if you expect to just pass this dirty water on to other people, or do you hope to take care of this before you start adding more onto the dirty water system? We're not, in this country, we should be able to drink our own water, but we have to pay a water bill and then we have to buy water to drink. And it doesn't seem right that you keep adding and adding and adding neighborhoods and townhouses and apartments and low income, and then, but you don't fix what's been here for a long time, and the water system, the sewage system, the electric system is going to be overtaxed. That's what I'm concerned about. And when you talk about traffic, the only way you're going to handle heavy traffic is to build bigger, faster roads to handle the traffic. It's the only way. You can't keep this a small little town with little roads and no sidewalks and increase the population twice of what it is. It's just not reasonable. It makes no sense. And I'll tell you, it's not safe for the children because of the traffic. They're used to riding their bikes around and having a ball, But boy, when you start putting that traffic down on First Avenue and Main Street, and now people are taking corners, they're trying to cut the lights coming down on 238th there, and they're trying to cut the corner going other ways around by Bev's, and those streets are now going to be getting more and more traffic because people don't want to wait for the lights. These are little neighborhoods where people live with their children, and all we got in our streets right now is a lot of people who want to avoid the lights and get to where they're going sooner. And that's not fair. That's not fair. That's not fair to our kids. That's not fair to the people who live here and pay the taxes to have the roads fixed, to have the water cleaned up, to update the sewage lines. All of this stuff is antiquated, and you're adding so much more population into it. It makes no sense. It makes no sense for the people. It makes no sense for the well-being of the town. And if all you're looking for is tax base, then I think you got elected for a little bit more than just big tax base. You know, we're not looking to get rich in this town. If we were, we'd be living down in Fort Lauderdale or something. But
Okay. Thank you.
Do you want me to?
Yes, please.
So, just to give you some additional information, so as development comes in, there are studies that are done with each development and plans passed around to several departments and engineers and consultants outside the city. So basically, traffic impact analysis, analysis on water, sewer, all the infrastructure, and what the impact fees are used to pay for the cost of new development, but what they don't pay for, then the developer is required to pay. So in order to handle new development, you sometimes need to oversize lines, you sometimes need to do off-site road improvements that aren't inside the developments, and they are required to do those. So as the development moves forward, as those studies indicate that those projects need to be done, the city will be making them do those projects. Right, so
for the newbies. We don't have to wait for the newbies to come in.
They are being worked on.
So the projects now that have nothing to do with the additional development, I mean, we have put more money into our road budget this year, more than ever has been put before.
Have is big black patches of tar to fill the holes at the end of my driveway and around.
So the way this works is you come to the microphone and you have a set time to speak so that the other folks can speak here this evening as well. And that's how it works. It's not a back and forth conversation, ma'am.
If you can give your name to our city clerk, then I'd be happy to meet with you one-on-one if you'd like to.
I hear what you're saying about new developments are required to do this analysis of how it's going to impact our roads and our water and electric and such. But I find that overall governments, be it federal, state, or local, have a tendency to bring in a whole bunch of money and not necessarily apply it correctly. So I think the community concern is we'd like to see an actual plan for how our water is going to be improved, how our roads are going to be improved, how our infrastructure is going to be improved, because otherwise communities you can collect all you want in fees and taxes, but we want to know how it's actually going to be used and not just accumulating in a fund.
So we have a water and sewer master plan and an asset management plan that outlines our whole water and sewer system and future capital projects to handle the current and future needs. So we have those plans, and that's partly what the impact fees are based on, and we are not allowed to use them for things not in that plan. So, so we do have those plans. We're working on a master plan for parks right now. That's one of the things we have been updating the last 2 or 3 are all of those plans. This past year, Thomas, our Public Works Director, updated, looked at all the roads and ranked all the roads. So we know which ones are the priority roads. So we have and are continuing to work and update those plans.
Where can the community see those?
So you can contact my office. I will double check to see what's online and what's not, but what's not online, I will get online because they are public information and we want those to be shared so you know what's going on.
I guess I'm kind of thinking like, when churches or schools or whatever, when they have a big project, you know how they'll usually kind of show it to the community or show it to the group and, have the little thermometer showing how much is raised for a project or whatever. Like I think it would give the community assurance to kind of see out in public what the plans are and where our progress is to it, because otherwise we just don't really feel where those impact fees are going.
Right, I totally understand, and we want to be transparent, so I'll double check. I'll have Kevin, our PIO officer, double check our pages, and we'll get whatever's not on there on there. So many of them are recently updated, that I'm not sure if they're all have hit on there yet, so.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, anyone else? All right. All right, commissioners?
Did we get a motion?
Now, what's what we need now?
I make your motion that we accepted the plan.
I'll make a second.
All right, it's been properly moved and second that the preliminary plat for Hidden Springs be approved. All those in favor respond with aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. All right. Motion carries. Item number 5, discuss, consider, and act on getting an appraisal on the Priest Theater and updating the assessment report of the building. Yes, you may.
Are you sure you don't want to introduce it? I'm joking.
I don't think anybody here for this one. I'm here for the next one.
Staff and the commission is aware there's been a lot of talk in the community about the Priest Theater. So just to kind of give a little history on where we're at with it. Several years ago, I would say around 1 to 2 years ago, the CRA board considered purchasing the Priest Theater. After looking at the cost of the Priest Theater, along with the improvements that needed to be made against what our budget was at the time, it was determined that it wasn't a good financial move for the city, although I think the overall consensus was that, we would like to see the Priest thrive and be a vibrant part of the city, but it just wasn't feasible for us to take that project on at the time. The direction also was for us to, if we found other funding sources, then, bring it back for consideration. So over the last couple of years, staff decided to submit for an appropriation with the state, and we were awarded $1,040,000, $1,040,450, of which we would have an additional $250,000 match, which could come from several funding sources: the CRA funds, Wild Spaces funds, infrastructure tax funds, even private donations. Currently, what we're asking for is to do further analysis on the Priest Theater before we decide if the commission, then the staff will bring the information back to the commission, along with additional information that we gather through the process, and then the commission will decide if it's a reasonable cost, if we want to make an offer, if we don't, if it's a project that the community wants to see the city take on or not. I mean, there's still a lot that needs to be done. So what staff wanted to do at this point was see if we could, the commission would approve us moving forward with getting an appraisal done. To see, and if they would, after that comes back, to see if they would be interested in purchasing it or not, and update a project list. We had the first go around, we had an initial project list on the number of projects that would be required. Within that assessment, there were different levels of projects. There was a level 1, 2, 3, and 4. Level 1 is like you have to do this. Level 2 was level 1 was mainly safety and code. Level 2 were, the next prioritized improvements. And then, when you got to level 4, it was kind of like, this would be nice, but you don't have to do this right now. You can do this later. So with inflation and all of that, we need to update that. We also would like to do some outreach within the community to gather their feelings on the Priest Theater and if it's something that's important to them or not. And upon that information gathering, we will present the results to the commission, and then the commission can decide whether they want to continue forward or not. So that's kind of where we're at in the process. We're at the due diligence phase, and that's what the request is from staff to the commission.
Some comments? No? No?
Thank you for that update. Now, when we last did that and made that decision, was that before the major structural issues were discovered?
No. So
Is that
at the
after?
time when that decision was made, I think the thought process was that there was a high likelihood that someone would come back and purchase the priests on the private side. Since that time, the building has deteriorated further to a point where it's not habitable, and I would say that it is a blighted building within the city. So it would be very difficult for someone on the private side, unless they had very deep pockets, to come in and make a business model without additional funding to come and do all those improvements and then make it work. It's just, not saying that person can't be fine, but it's going to be more difficult. The more the building deteriorates, the more it's going to cost to improve it. It's just like anything else, the harder it then will be to find someone. So for that reason, it really fits our CRA strategic plan as far as one of the primary reasons CRAs exist is to get rid of blight in the community, also to stimulate tourism. I think staff feels like an investment of $250,000 is good to consider because it would make a positive impact downtown as far as economic development, and it would help other businesses thrive. People will come watch a movie, or they'll come see a community event, a play, whatever the programming would end up being, go eat at our restaurants, frequent some of our businesses. So we think that would be a positive impact. There are studies that show the positive economic benefits of revitalizing historic theaters. We just think there are many benefits, so it should be considered. And additionally, it is a 1910 historic landmark, and it's one of the oldest theaters in Florida.
Okay, so
Sorry, I kind of went on
yeah.
a diatribe.
That's okay. And really, previously, it was just too big a thing to take on, and the opportunity didn't warrant the public investment. But now that we have this potential grant that we may or may not accept, we have an opportunity to really impact downtown, and there are a lot of models that show that it would be a significant benefit. So to not explore the opportunity, I think, would be foolish. And when I say explore that, yes, an appraisal is part of that, but also what are the conditions that go with this grant? Because it says in the grant that we'll end up owning the building. Does that mean we own it for a year and we could potentially transition out? Or does that mean we're committed to owning it for 10 years and operating it? If we use certain grant funding, are we restricting ourselves? I want to know those details because there's going to be an ongoing cost. But also, as we look at the opportunities, I'd like the county has said that they were really interested in that building and helping us. So I've heard conversations about us coming up with a $200,000 match. Well, where's the county in this? Because if this were in Gainesville or some other communities, there'd be an investment on the county's part. So I think part of exploring this opportunity is not only appraisal, but what kind of treasure does the county want to put into this? If we're talking about taking such a major portion of Wild Spaces funds for our matching funds, the county has way more in Wild Spaces money than we do. So why isn't the county willing to put up $1 million to match the state, as well as look at what treasure and where resources we're going to put into it? So let's see where the county's at in this process. But then also the community engagement. You know, do people really envision it being a theater as it's traditionally been, or a place that can show movies but be used for other purposes? And does it have more use for the space than a facility that has a ramped floor with bolted chairs? And if the community thinks there should be more purpose to that space, how do we design that? Because they can do amazing things, but it takes money. But if that's what we're exploring, then let's explore that. So, you know, what would the community want, and engage them in their uses? And then really, I'd like to, before anything comes back to us, and this will probably come back in multiple pieces, what are the different models that we as a city should be considering if we move forward with something we decide we like that makes sense? Is it the city owning and operating something, which I'm not inclined to want the city to be responsible for day-to-day operation? You know, the Hippodrome is owned by the city of Gainesville, but they do not operate that facility on a day-to-day basis. You know, what model would make sense to produce the economic development that you've talked about and be supportive of the businesses and our core downtown central? We talk about, you know, we're a small town, you know, what we can maintain, and because the land is there and fixed, is these spaces downtown and what our downtown feels like. And this is an opportunity that we need to seriously look at. So there are a lot of pieces to this, but it's still a bigger bite than we can take. And I don't think we could do it well if we restrict ourselves to just 1.2 million, you know, between the match and the grant. But the nice part of the opportunity is, now that we have this grant, that qualifies as matching funds for other grants. And there are all kinds of other historic grants that, with the right ownership, we might qualify for that a private owner can't, but a government or a nonprofit partnership potentially could. So there's so much that I don't know, and I've listened and I've read online, and one thing I know we want to do is take the emotion out of the decision and know what the end goals are and how to use the opportunity well and make our decision based on that. So that's my opening shot.
Madam Mayor, if I may, please. There are a lot of questions. I'll try to be brief. The matching funds, I mean, getting the grant money is great, but that puts the city on the hook for $250,000 that the commission never had on the radar. So we've got to come up with a plan for how do we match $250,000, and how does that impact the ability to sell this building? If we can use the grant money to refurbish it to a point that it is sellable to a private individual, which sources of funding are we restricted to? If we use CRA funds, could we even sell it? If we use Wild Spaces funds, probably couldn't sell it. If we use infrastructure tax, we might be able to sell it. That's important. Do we even have that? Is the money that we would potentially spend on an assessment of the facility coming from the grant money? Does that put us on the hook for anything?
Not to move forward. Say we spend the money on the appraisal and the report. I see both of them being actually within my purchasing power, so they're not going to be crazy amounts. But and you decide not to move forward on the project, then we lose that money that we spent.
But that's our own general funds. That doesn't dip into the grant.
I think we were planning to use that from CRA funds.
Does that impact the ability to sell the building?
If we end up paying, if we use CRA funds, so if we use CRA funds and then it's, you can't sell it for 10 years.
So
If we buy it, you can always pay back CRA. We can use it right now, CRA funds right now to move forward. And then, because we're going to be considering a number of funding sources, and we can pay back CRA and then use other funds, like with whatever funds we choose to do.
And still make it a saleable building?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, the business model, as it has already been proven here in High Springs, is, you know, I mean, the Allagoods could tell us, I'm sure, more, but they sold out every time they had a movie. You know, it's not like there's not the desire, there's not the people here who will go to the movies and go across the street and have a brew and go get a pizza. I mean, it could be amazing for downtown. I absolutely understand that. Steakout, cheesesteak, yep. But now, there was, as I understood it, a private investor who was very interested in buying it and then decided, you know, wow, that's just going to be too much. Is this person still potentially in the mix?
I mean, those are all the things we need to explore. Everything you're mentioning is what staff wants to explore, but we don't want to spin our wheels if it's something the commission doesn't want us to move forward. So this is kind of just saying, yes, staff, start exploring all this, getting us all these answers. And because if it's immediate shutdown, then I don't want to waste my time trying to get all that. But that's what we want to do with after this meeting tonight, that's what we would like to do is get answers to all those questions.
And who on city staff is going to be taking point on this entire project?
It is going to be me, Bruce, Thomas and Elliot will be the main ones. So there will be different parts that fit our different skill sets. And so we will all be doing different parts of it. Right now, I am the one who has contacted Paul Stressing to update the assessment report. But, I mean, he knows it's contingent upon what y'all decide tonight.
His report's 2 years old.
Right, and there's been a lot of inflation.
Yeah.
So, and there's been changed conditions at the building.
Yes.
So.
The one concern I had here is in our appropriation application, it already indicated that we had public meetings. And I know that we talked about it at a CRA meeting a year and a half ago, maybe. But I don't recall that we've had public meetings since I've been here.
Right.
Is that something that we need to document when those meetings had already been held to support this?
The state did not ask that we document when they were held.
Okay.
So that was not a requirement. I mean, we could go back in the minutes and the dates. It would take additional staff time. I'm not sure if
it concerns me a little bit because I don't think we have had that.
Well, we had public meetings where it was discussed. We have not had workshop meetings.
Right.
So it said we had public meetings, which is true. As far as the workshop meetings, I think we didn't want to start anything like that and give false hope and get people's you know, there's people who want the project and don't, so we didn't want to create that within the community without knowing we had a potential of actually doing the project.
I think we have our first workshop here, would be my guess. I mean, we've got a lot of people here, so that's great input for us to have, I think, to help guide us in terms of the next step.
Right.
But I reached out to Representative Brandon, and he was really helpful. Do you know who our grants manager is at the state level? Who would be...
So there's not a grant manager at the state level now. There is someone that has contacted me. There's an appropriations committee.
Okay.
And that person has contacted me, and they said that they were going to call in the next 2 weeks to set up a meeting. I was wanting to know from this meeting if y'all want me to move forward or not. There's no reason for me to meet with that person until I know if you want to move forward. And if you say yes, then I'm setting that meeting up with them.
Okay.
There are people who govern these projects with this.
Right. I tried finding who those people were,
it's
and
like
I couldn't.
An appropriations
Okay.
committee
Okay.
that exists.
Okay. And the only other question I have, and this is really kind of long term, I know that they had a contract to bring first run movies in on somehow whatever kind of deal you guys had that brought in good movies that filled up the theater. Has that expired? Would COVID give an opportunity to continue that contract so that it might be actually feasible financially to continue bringing in first-run movies? I don't know if you know the answer to that or not. Okay.
So each film, the industry works their individual, so like Lionsgate, MGM, Disney, Paramount, whoever made the film, you work with one of their sales reps that's over a district, and you more or less lobby for your contract price over that film. You don't sign into some type of license agreement or buy like for $15,000 or something, and they send you films. You individually work on each film and booking for dates. And you usually do that ahead of time. So you're looking at what that year, even I would be looking at a year or 2 years out, their projected date at a release date for a film. And that's the way I did it because I wanted to open with movies. My mom did it a different way. So if it didn't gross 50 million, she didn't touch it. The only one she touched that didn't was Babe, the big pig in the city. And she sold out for several weeks. So it's not always a formula, or you can't look at just a film at what it's grossing. Sometimes you have to look at your community and your audience base. What are the people of your town? What are the people, who are you showing these films to? And also, it also goes dependent, it's dependent on one screen. You have one screen. So you can't open with everything. And if you're gonna bring in 50 people with a rated R movie versus 240 people with a PG or G, and they don't make Gs hardly anymore. But there's a lot of factors that go into it, but it's individual. You know, negotiate that contract. And so each film is a contract. That's their movie on the screen, and so they own the screen, you own the screen. And you work within that contract every week or every time you schedule something.
So I hear everybody, I really appreciate what the other commissioners are saying about it and looking at it a very non-emotional way. However, I don't have that in me when it comes to the Priest Theater, so I'll just be honest about that. I look at it like from an emotional standpoint, and I'll tell you a story that when I was going around asking people how they felt about it, just to make sure I wasn't off base, I went to my own father and asked a question. He said, well, let me tell you something. We had a pipe break on a Saturday night about 8 p.m. And I said, all right. And he said, I'm like, what does this have anything to do with the theater, Dad? And he said, no, I'll tell you. So I went right down there to the movie theater, and Bobby was back there working, slinging popcorn and Cokes. And he said, Bobby, I got a parts list. I need some parts. I'm at the house flooding. Bobby said, I'm about to have intermission. My dad said, well, let me do intermission, and you go get the parts. That's what this theater meant to this town. You could do those things. So you got my dad back there slinging popcorn, probably horribly, while Bobby's getting parts out of the hardware store. That's what this town is. And yes, we're growing and we're going to grow. But we have got to maintain some of that history about who we were and about those things happening. So I will say that I normally hate for government to run any type of business because we don't do it well. That's why I'm a cop, I'm not a businessman. But when it comes to something like this, I would not have backed the Canoe Outpost. That's my personal opinion. I would not have done it. I do want to see a business model going forward of how this would work, right? Just the same things that the two other commissioners said. I second those things. We want to know what the plan is. We all do. But for what this town is, and for what that theater has meant to this town, we owe it to everybody to try to get that thing back up and running.
Basically, all you need us to do tonight is try and pretty much tell you to move on and get the appraiser and try to get a list of what's need to be done. And so we're not tonight. We're not agreeing to say we're going to buy the Priest Theater. That's not what we're saying tonight.
As you can remember, I am the one the first go around that recommended denial.
Yeah.
Because the data didn't pan out, and I was like, I don't want to put us in that position.
Yeah.
And getting $1 million put into the theater, that's a game changer that I think it behooves us to do a second look.
Yes.
And I would agree. I mean, I'm one who I believe it's a double-edged sword on emotion and data. The data you have to have. The city cannot take on projects that we can't afford and that aren't going to be, like, this is one that has to be profitable. Like, some things we subsidize, this is one that we would have to make be self-supporting and have a good business model. But at the same time, you know, the whole emotion debate, I mean, a 1910 historic theater, typically that is a heartbeat of the community. And one of the things that came out during our first strategic planning session was, I keep saying this over and over again, but the commission decided that the word warmth, like it was like, what are the words that matter to you for the community when people think of the city of High Springs? And it was warmth, warmth, warmth. Well, this embodies that. So I think both matter, and I don't think there's anything wrong with taking into account how much the Priest Theater has mattered to people in the community. I've only lived here 3 years, but out of all the cities I've managed, there is not any other landmark in any other city that I've heard people in the community talk about more. So. Oh, yeah, sorry.
I'm sorry. So when we first started this conversation, you know, that we kind of looked into trying to buy from the city, but we came back and said we could not afford it. And so the conversation was, if there's possible, some grants out there to get this theater, it will be wonderful. Now, I'm going to speak from my emotional part. I go way back with Mr. Cooper. Mr. Cooper on the way before the Sheffields on there. Yeah. When you can go to the matinee, that's why I got introduced to John Wayne at the Priest Theater. You pay your money, you stay there all day long.
All day.
All day. It was a hub where the community came together. It was that type of place. And emotionally, I do get emotional because it's a part of me and it's a part of High Springs. And I think we need whatever we can. I don't want to jump into something we can't afford. We're not going to sit in the night and say, well, we're going to buy the Priest. No, we're going to sit and think this out. Because I think we've all pretty much intelligent people sitting up here and sitting out there that we can sit down and discuss this as adults and make the appropriate solution, hopefully, to save the Priest Theater. Because it is a historical building. I mean, when I say historical, it is a historical building. I never did my research and found which some of the oldest buildings in High Spring, but I know that's one of the oldest ones. I'm 65, and it was there when I was a child, so we need to really explore it and see what we can and cannot do. And if there's other funding possibility, because that's when we first was talking, that's why I was thinking about this, because I remember we had something and these people came into town. If the city owned this different historical grants out there from the state, I think it's some revenue out there that we can say this. And some of the phone calls I have gotten from private citizens saying they're willing to invest in the Priest Theater. So I think it's something we really need to explore. And then again, we invested in it several years back with the CRA. What was it, 20,000? I can't remember what it was, but 45,000. So it's historical. We must try to do all we can to save it. If possible, we need to do what we can. And here, for most of the citizens around High Spring, they want to try to save the Priest Theater. And so, and basically, all you're asking us tonight to give you
I would like to go forward with the appraisal and to update the assessment report. I would also like to, after we get that information, possibly start some community workshops and start basically doing the things we need to gather data to answer all these questions and bring back some sort of recommendation or halfway point additional information to y'all for guidance.
Okay.
Continued guidance.
Because we're not even to the point what we're going to use it for.
Right. I mean, there's a million ideas, and I think we all know there's certain things it will be used for, and it's all going to relate back to things for the community. But we need to reach out to the community and see what they think and things we're missing and things we haven't thought about, and further refine the programming of the Priest Theater.
Great, okay.
All right, sound like we done on this end, so. Yeah, I was coming to the audience next.
Is there I've been in these meetings with discussions about grants and that kind of thing. Seems to me, I recall that some of them had deadlines. There were timelines that you had to apply to get everything together. Is there a timeline?
So I need to talk to the person at the state about that, because that conversation is supposed to happen in 2 weeks. You know, they're normally, as you normally have to get it done in a certain amount of time. This one would probably be around 2 years typically, but I want to confirm that with them. And I also want to see, you know, if you don't make it, what are the extensions and stuff like that. There's normally a process for that too. So I want to get more clarification on this. This is the first time I've ever done an appropriation. So it's a learning process for me too.
All right, do we have any comments from the?
Ray Brown, and I could tell you stories about this place. I mean, I look out the window there, I'm looking at it. I'm looking at this precious building. And if you recall a few years back when they had to switch to digital, and you guys may have helped with a grant, but what really happened was the community came together. So that's when public and private worked together. And there's nothing better than that, because this is a community, and you want to talk data, but you need to talk your heart too, because this is a real deal. 3 of my boys, excuse me, went through High Springs Community School, and every year we had a walking field trip to the Priest Theater. I mean, come on. What a beautiful thing to experience that. And of course, High Springs Police Department would block the roads, but the kids had such joy. And we didn't have to pay for school buses or transportation. They got to see the rest of the city. We'd actually take them there, go to the jail, but they don't want to be, and other places. And it was like you learn the city history, and history is what it's all about, okay? And I have friends that have wanted to purchase this building. I know it needs a new roof, but you know what? Bring it on. Someone will come in. The community will come in. Put your money where your mouth is when you want to preserve the history of this community, but also develop it, and also bring business in, people in, community in, family friendlies. You know, that was the great thing about that. Yeah, if they want to play an R-rated movie, whatever, but they never did. You just always knew you could trust. You could drop your kids off there, and it was a good thing. They could open the stage to bands, community. You know, we've lost the community and the music in the park thing because the city wasn't really like putting anything into that, and it costs money to bring artists here. And music speaks to the soul. It's a universal language, and so is entertainment. And then you build all around that. And forget about the county trying to come in there. You're just making a big old mess, you know? I mean, you can try, but you're delaying. They promise you something, you ain't getting it, honey. And then you need to really work on the public, and you need to do like, you know, we need funds from the community, but we need to see that you also are committed to this community. And that's your heart, and that's city money. Because I'm guaranteeing you, you go door to door, 9 out of 10 are gonna say, go for it.
Well, I told you the fireworks was gonna happen. Well, I'm gonna say again, I go back 8 generations here in the community. 8 generations. My aunt ran the theater over in Brantford. She came over here and helped out. And we could get a quarter. We could take a quarter now, or 25 cents, and we could go to the movie theater, here at the Priest Theater, and you'd put a penny in for the candy, and it'd make 2 little turns and get candy. Popcorn was a nickel. A drink was a nickel. You know? And you had it. And there was a poor person that wanted to see a movie like the rich person. They got in there. They got in there. Let me tell you what. Not saying it because they're here tonight, but they worked hard. The Sheffields are an angel of the community. Did you hear what I just said? An angel of the community. Never in the history of the movie theater, a movie cost over $5. And if some kid wanted to get in and he didn't have the thing, that lady right back there and her husband to make sure they got to watch the movie. Now look here, I don't like people coming in here telling me what I can do and what I can't do and what my community's gonna do. We got the grant. Is there anybody up there, I wanna know, anybody up there that if somebody offered you $1.4 million to give it to you, and they gonna give you other grants, and well, you don't know what yeah, none of y'all was there. None of y'all been to Tallahassee. The man that's been to Tallahassee ain't here to speak for himself. I went up there. I said to the day I die, the Priest Theater ain't going nowhere. I went before the county commissioners. They're willing to help out. But we got 5 state representatives, senators and all that is backing us and gave me their word, look in their face, they give us more grants. We don't want no private individual coming in here buying out our town. We do not want no private individual. Like that lady just said, this is our community. We want to keep it like that. I'm not 100% sure, I'm 1,000% sure. I can get big bands to come in here and play. Big bands and all that. So let's save the Priest Theater for ourselves and our community. And it's our theater, and it goes back not to 1900, all the way back to 1865. God bless y'all. Save the Priest Theater.
Bruce not the only one went up there to Tallahassee. Myself went up there, spoke. The mayor went to smoke, and the city manager also. Just for clarity. Just for clarity. Let you know I was all concerned about the Priest Theater. Yeah.
And I told you I was going up there. And the day God takes the last breath out of my mouth, we're going to save the Priest Theater.
Oh, yeah, man. All right.
Hi. He asked about a deadline, but I think what I wanted to know was if there was a deadline when if you can accept this. Like, how long is the offer on the table before they say?
So it's pretty much like they're again, this is the first time I've done an appropriation, but so some of this is guessing, but the money's ours right now.
Okay.
And then if we don't get the project done in a certain amount of time, then we typically give it back. I have to find the date, but if you don't get done by their deadline, then they take the money back. But right now, it's at the beginning, we're pretty stable. I feel confident that we can move along and meet timelines because we haven't sat on and waited on it for months. I mean, as soon as we found out, then we started planning and got this on the agenda pretty quick.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Mayor, Commissioners, thanks for letting us come in and voice our opinions. I too have been around for a while, and my day when I went to the Priest on Saturdays, a lot of mornings I'd get up at daylight and I'd go pick up bottles on the side of the road, or I actually pulled gophers when they were still legal to pull. And I could get 50 cents for a gopher, and I could go down and have a great day sitting at the Priest Theater. So I'm very interested in seeing it go back to what it was.
I've heard y'all talk about things and a lot of questions. There are a lot of questions to be answered, but I'd say that right now, what you need to be doing is making an effort to answer those questions, not to say, are we going to do it or not? You should say, yes, we're going to do it if we find out that we can. You've talked about all kinds of things, and it's going to go a little against this last, our speaker before last. But I have people that have contacted me over the years that have said they want this to happen. They want to see it go. They want to come in and be a part of it. They're talking about long-term leases to help supplement what y'all are doing, to put in a program that y'all agree to of the type of entertainment that comes in, and they would pay you so that that rent money, for lack of a better word, could go directly to the renovation as it takes place. And like I say, they're very interested in it. So before you make any decisions, look forward at it and work toward it. Don't just say, oh, it's too much work, or, no, we're not going to do that. It needs to be done. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Sandy Flights. Haven't been to one of these meetings for a while, but it's awesome to be back and on a very passionate project. I agree, there's no way to keep the emotion out of it, and I think everybody's already talking about that. I'm very impressed at what you've explained thus far, but I've been watching some things online, and I think the quicker we can get that message out to the public, just like he was saying, I think you're going to be amazed and impressed at how many people would come forward and help with these other dollars that we're wondering where they're going to magically come from, just like they did when they did do the switch over to the digital. My kids don't even live here anymore, but they went there all the time. They grew up with you, and they sent money back from where they live because it mattered to them to keep it going. And I think you're going to find that ripple effect very far and wide. I think it could be like Friends of Olino. I know you work on a group that is willing to maybe help take part of figuring out how to get these funds, how it could operate, how it could keep it going. And I think the quicker we can get those questions and have those workshops and things out to the public so we're not getting misinformation on Facebook or wherever, that you are in favor of moving forward, I think that's really going to help. I mean, the Bob and Karen Bent spent $3 million fixing the great outdoors. We may find somebody that wants, I'll call them and see if they want to donate. I mean, I think it's endless what we could. And I said when we were working on another project to a group of people, and it was kind of a joke, but I used it anyway. I helped create the slogan for this town, and I don't know if any of you know the story, but I worked at Camp Kalakwa, and one of their brochures said, "Enjoy our good nature." And I asked Phil Yance if we could have that. I took it to the chamber. He said yes, they adopted it. And that's what the slogan says on the billboards now, is enjoy our good nature, because I thought it fit our personalities and our natural nature. So I've got one for you now. For Preet's sake, let's save the Preet.
Hi, good evening, Madam Mayor, Commissioners, Vice Mayor. Ben Anderson is my name. I lived in High Springs and attended formerly High Springs Elementary School, Spring Hill Middle, from 1993 to 2001. And speaking to some of the comments made about HART and also looking at the logistics, I'll speak to HART real quick, just to solidify many of the comments and the sentiment I know that many community members in High Springs feel about the Priest Theater, about what it means to them. And the Priest Theater for me wasn't just a place to go see movies. It was a place to meet people. It was a place to learn how to interact with my peers. And with Mrs. Sheffield, it was also a place to learn how to behave, how to act proper, how to be kind, how to be compassionate. And these were things that were lessons that were instilled in me as a child in this community, largely because of the community. And when I was in 6th grade that summer in 1999, my house burned down, my family's house burned down here in the community. And it was quite a difficult, tragic experience, but what happened after that was that being part of this community is what got us back on our feet. And it was this community that got us back on our feet. It was Camp Kalakwa that gave us a house to stay for a year. It was the thrift store that clothed us. It was Winn-Dixie that gave us gift cards to buy food for a month when we didn't have anything to eat. It was the Sheffields who let us come and watch movies. This theater is more than just an economic project, even though there's a lot of arguments that could be made and a lot of impact studies I know that you'll find that argue in favor of moving forward with this project, whatever that turns out to be. But what I think about when I think of High Springs is I think about it as a community that's coming together in support of those members that are a part of it. This theater is a part of our community, and it is in need. It is in need of repair, it is in need of restoration. And I feel like that's what was given to me as a child and what High Springs did for me. And I know that that's what a lot of members in this community want to do for this theater. Because just like barbecue brings us together, the theater brings us together. And when people come together, that's when relationships can happen, that's when mentorship can happen, and that's when people can learn about their identity of themselves and their community. So I'll speak to that, and I'll just say that this will not be the only meeting that I will be attending on behalf of this topic. I'm very much interested in participating in this discussion, both in the workshops that happen in the future. I want to commend the city manager for pursuing the grant appropriations, knowing that it really does mean a lot to a lot of people and all those that were in support of speaking on behalf of that grant's appropriation for the state. I also want to comment on the Sheffields, the Alley Goods, and just what they mean to this community. It really is a significant memory. It's an important part of identity. And I'm thankful that there's so many people here today that are speaking on behalf of that. So thank you.
When I was a child, I went to Priest Theater Saturday matinee for 10 cents. So Bruce said he went for 25 cents. I got you beat, Bruce. So historical preservation is important. I think historical preservation should be a priority.
In the same words as everybody else, I just wanted to say this is my first time ever coming to one of these meetings. This topic in particular is what drew me here, so it was worth my time today. I've been up since 4 a.m. I'm sure a lot of people here have had a long day also. It's a topic very close to my heart. It is an emotional topic. I agree that it is worth preserving. It sounds like you guys have some really good questions that you need to answer. I'm interested in hearing those answers. I'm a big supporter of preserving history and buildings like this because I don't think that people come to places that look like every other place. And the High Springs community, the High Springs Priest Theater is although it's not a global draw for people to come here per se, it is something that draws people from all over. And I'm a frequent visitor of the Florida Twin Theater, which is similar to this in Stark. And I'm actually going there tomorrow, and my friend and I, we go there to see things we don't even care about because it is so affordable, and to support something like that because it is a small family-owned thing, and I would love to pour some of those dollars back into this theater because it is a part of my childhood, and I would like for it to be here for other people's children too, to see what it was. So to address the question that you have, I am in support of you guys using your man hours to answer the questions so that we can see what we can feasibly do, because I am also aware of fiscal responsibility so that I understand the element of that as well. And that's just what I just wanted to say. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Blake Oswald. Last time I was here, I was actually receiving an award for community service, Lifetime Achievement. And I've worked with the last 3 Park and Rec directors closely over the last 15 years. And I know how limited the resources are and how tight the budget can be. Everybody here, it's very just, has a wonderful nostalgia. I've lived here over 30 years myself. Went to, Priest many times, took my daughter there. And I think the one thing that this community does not do very well outside of the Priest Theater over the last 30 years has been providing something that families can come together, friends can come together, children can come together in a safe place. We have a lot of parks, probably, honestly, too many. But you don't see a lot of the families and friends getting out there unless it's a sporting event going. For everybody else, there is really, honestly, nothing left. And anything short of actually making it a theater to where people are actually can go to, unfortunately, I think would be a giant money pit and a giant waste. So moving forward, unless you plan on taking this all the way through and keeping it what it's been, and that's a beacon to have a community together, we don't need a second classical theater. We don't need spaces for art to already do. We already have buildings for that. We need places for where the community actually can come together and gather. And that has been an excuse with the use of film over the years. So anything less than that, I think, would be a giant waste of money. The resources that I've seen with the Park and Rec budgets and everything, or any of the other ones, they can't afford to like you said earlier, Mr. Ambrose, it has to be sustainable. So anything that's not going to bring in revenue on a regular basis would be just robbing from everything else, just to keep childhood memories alive. So unless we plan on actually going forth and making this something that it's been for the last 100 years, then it would be an unfortunate just waste of resources. So please keep that in mind. If you choose to go through with this, don't do it, excuse my language, but half-ass. Don't just keep the building, because the building isn't what makes the memories. Everybody here has talked about going and seeing with friends, going and seeing with family. That's where the best part of it, talking about the community service that the Shellfields and Alley Goods have put towards this, this community. That's what brings it together, not the brick and mortar. So unless we plan on actually restoring it to what it is truly meant to, then, we may need to look at other options. Thank you.
Linda Jones. We keep talking about costs, and you said this is your first appropriations that you've been through. Do you have any idea what the upfront costs are just to get to the point where we can approve the $1.4 million? Do you have any idea?
Before a couple years ago, so what we will be following is the project list from the updated assessment report, and so that's what we will be following.
Dollars? Do you have any?
So we submitted for 1.2 million, and we got the million. We have the $250,000 match. I think that will get us to restoring the roof, getting the building up to code.
I'm sorry.
I'm
I
not
understand
understanding
that.
the question.
Okay. You're here to determine whether or not you want to move forward with this, but you have to do certain steps to get to there. Is that what you said, that you don't want to go through any steps at all until you know that this is what the commission wants to do?
I do not want to be wasting any more man hours until I know that this is something that the commission wants us to continue going forward with.
So there's no upfront cost. It's either yes or no at this point.
Right, there's the upfront cost right now, or the cost for the appraisal and to
Okay.
update the assessment report.
Do you have a dollar amount?
So when I talked to Paul Stressing, of course, he doesn't know. We're meeting at the Priest Theater next Wednesday, depending on how this goes. He said the assessment report could be around $10,000. It might be a little more. He needs to look at the theater first. And I'm still getting the quote on the appraisal, but both will be under my spending amount, which is up to $25,000.
Okay. I took the time last night to look for the CRA meetings because there aren't that many, and I found the one that was on July 8th, 2021. It was about an hour discussion. I listened to the entire thing. There was Commissioners Williams, James, Ambrose, Scott Jameson, and myself. Ashley and David Sutton gave the presentation. After considering the information, the board, let me quote it, board consensus was not to move forward with the purchase. That's what was quoted from the minutes. There was no mention, and I listened to the whole thing, of looking for alternative ways to bring this about. As far as you can tell from the minutes, as far as you can tell from the video, there was nothing to indicate that was going to move forward. The project scope overview of the grant application stated there were several public meetings discussing the Thank you.
Hi, thank you all for considering this. I'm Tina Corbett. You know, I owned Lanza Gallery and Art Supply. I moved here in 2004, and we all heard our feel-good stories. Right before COVID, a bunch of us ladies were going to movies every Monday. It became a really cool thing, and then COVID happened. I understand what you're up against. As a business person, I know this would be an extreme undertaking. Even if you got the money to renovate it, the management of it, how it would work, is going to be a lot of thought and a lot of planning. I do like the idea. I think possibly you could look at the Hippodrome. I've been to the Hippodrome several times. It's an amazingly fabulous historic building. It's the old post office, retired post office. And they always have successful, plays and things, and it's fun to go there. So perhaps in your research on whether this is going to be feasible, that might be some resource that you can explore that would help you decide how to go about this, whether it would be run by a group that you hire or a private entity. And I respect anything you guys come up with, because it really will be quite an undertaking to have this a successful business. And that's what it'll have to be. It may have to be movies and then a multi-purpose building for other things to bring in revenue besides the movies. But I want to thank you for pursuing this, because I think most of us in the business community and in the private, residences would really like to see it possibly come to, a positive thing for the Priest Theater, and I think it would add to our town. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Appleby. I am the current treasurer of the High Springs Playhouse. I've been the artistic director, and I can tell you right now, with movies, you guys may be apprehensive. We've heard reports. I watched the meeting that you all are discussing about where you decided not to move forward at that time because of the restoration costs. Movies might not be where it's at, but the stage is. That's what that building has. And a stage is so much more than just, plays and musicals. A stage can be for recitals for the community. It can be, for, the dance things around here. You can have music. I mean, I could just stand up here and go on and on and on and on about how much a stage can bring to a community. Right now, we sell out. Like every single show, and we have 74 seats. I can't imagine what we could do with 250 seats. And we've been a profitable nonprofit business in this community for, we're celebrating our 31st year next year. And with that in mind, the theater screen actually retracts right now, and you can see the original where vaudeville was performed there years ago. If this is just more than a historic building, it's provide a way away from the world, an escape from reality for years, and that's what a stage can do. You're going to bring in, business, not to mention you're going to have jobs. You're going to, create jobs that are going to happen from, this building. I don't know that I actually work for the City of Alachua Recreation and Culture. I don't know that it would be appropriate for the city to run something like that. I think it would definitely be in the city's interest to maybe get a kickback from whatever entity runs it, because I think another entity, because, you know, like Janet mentioned, just booking movies is a, you know, job on its own. And then if you're going to open it up to multi-purpose, you know, that's going to take a management company that I think would be outside the realms of what the rec department can currently, you know, handle. But I grew up in Fort White. I saw Jurassic Park with my Aunt Sandra Withy in those seats. And one time my mom came late. We had already bought our tickets at Sheffield's Hardware, and my mom came late, and it was an Indian in the cupboard, and we really wanted to see it. And Miss Sheffield let us go upstairs into the loft there where we got to see it. And that's the other thing. There's a historic, you can have tours. There's so much that that building can offer, and it would be a shame if you let this opportunity pass you by.
Okay.
I'll make a motion, Madam Mayor.
Yes?
I'm positive that this is going to work. And I love your remarks. That stage can bring money. That stage can bring money. Big money in this city. That stage alone, not just on the movie stage, but that stage alone can bring so many things in this community. Yes, it can. I can see the graduations there from, it's just so many opportunities to do. I am so positive that this is going to work. I almost, thank you for the amens. Thank you. But so with that being said, I make a motion that we get the appraisal on the Priest Theater and the updates on the assessment report of the building.
I'll second it.
Proudly. Proudly.
All right, it's been properly moved and second that we move forward in getting whatever is necessary for our Priest Theater. All those in favor respond with aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Very good. All right. Thank you all.
Yeah, we're not done.
You don't have to leave. All right, let's move to item number 6. Discuss, consider, and act on a contract with Florida Homes to furnish plans, permit, labor, and materials related to the Catherine Taylor Park project. Yeah, you coming?
It's the contract.
Yeah, the contract.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mayor and Commission.
All
Back
right.
again. We're talking about another historical
Yes.
landmark. As y'all are aware that y'all passed 2 meetings ago, the contract with Florida Homes was the only contractor that has sent in for the Douglas Community Center, Catherine Taylor Park. The city attorneys and the work with the city manager and Florida Homes has worked up an agreement between the city and Florida Homes, and we're at the process of starting to sign a contract. We're looking for approval from commission to move forward. As you probably see in your packet, Florida Homes broke it down for different payments, structures, in which they'll be inspected throughout, each event. So we're just asking permission to sign a contract. And let's get this can stop kicking down the road.
You gonna oversee this project?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
And Madam Mayor, may I ask one question? Are these prices locked in?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
That was my question. Because I like the way that they did this, but I wanted to make sure they would not be constantly changing all the
No,
time.
ma'am. I hate change orders.
Okay,
35 years, I hate change orders still.
all right, very good. Commissioners, questions, comments? Everybody okay? Audience? Well, all right. Somebody, nothing.
Madam Mayor, I'd make a motion that we accept and sign the contract.
Second.
All right, it has been properly moved and seconded that this contract be approved with Florida Homes for Catherine Taylor Park project. All those in favor respond with aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. All right, contract approved. Thank you. City Attorney report and update. Nothing to report. City Manager.
Well, first of all, I'd like to introduce Elliot Harris. He's our new Parks and Recreation Director. He was former Parks and Recreation Director at the City of Alachua. He's been an administrator with the school district. And he lives in the city of High Springs. He comes to us he also has a master's degree. I mean, the list of his accomplishments goes on, and we're very fortunate to have him on our team. He's already he has so many great ideas that he's already started working on several of them. I will say, when I interviewed with him, I almost wanted to say, should I get up out of this seat and should you sit in it? Because I mean, he was like point on with so many things. And
He's the head coach of Buchholz Bobcats boys
Yes.
varsity basketball as well.
say that 10 times.
And he's also going to keep an eye on Evan Walker while he's at it.
So I'm very, very excited that he's with us, and you will be seeing more of him in the future as we push things along, and he's been helping us with the Parks Master Plan, some of our procedures and policies. He's been working with Thomas and started some of the improvements that need to be made to the parks. So I think you're going to see a lot of good things out of that department. So other things, Habitat for Humanity has called and wants to partner with the city on and have us search for more potential properties, abandoned properties, or anything that so we will start that process again. It is a long process, but we'll get through it just like we did before. The farmers market surveys have been sent out. Sharon was generous enough to let us attend her chamber meeting this week, and when to pass out the surveys, and several people had already filled them out, so that was good. Last count was like 75 surveys have been turned in. And so please get the word out about the surveys. They are posted online. Public Works has made updates to the Civic Center. They repaired windows at the old school, painted part of the exterior of the building. We'll be replacing the roof soon. They painted the Canoe Outpost building. What else have you done? You've done so much. I keep saying I can't keep giving things to Thomas. I've already given him too much. Yeah, it's.
And actually, don't forget what he did for us.
Oh.
The Seabug.
Oh, I think Elliot did that.
Did you do?
Yeah, because you were like, it got done. You're like, it got done so quick.
It was done less than 24 hours. It was
So
good.
So we got good people on our team between everyone. And so in Parks and Rec is installing new swings and adding mulch to City Park. So this was kind of a partnership. Before Elliot came on, Thomas did an assessment and picked out many things. And Elliot's come on now, and he's like going through the book, and he's finding other things too. And so again, you'll see some refresh of the parks. Next week, the strategic planning workshop will be held at the Civic Center. It's Thursday, July 20th at 5:30 p.m. So we will be providing the results of they weren't surveys, but I gave y'all homework to fill out. So we will be providing those results. We will be doing a SWOT analysis. There will be a question and answer session as well with the community on what's important to them briefly. And we will have the departments available to talk to the community, and they can walk around, and the departments will be taking notes on what's important in that format as well. So we will try not to go too long. I'll try not to talk too much. It's going to be hard. The High Springs highlights, I'll try to keep this simple. So the police department, they have two certified Rad Kids instructors, Officer Lumpkins and Parker, and they teamed up with the Gainesville Police Department and Good News Art and did safety education to the children attending the Good News Art program. Fire department has been very, very busy this year, busier than any year since I've worked here. Currently, they're at 877 calls for service between January 1st and June 30th. And many of those are medical emergencies, but they've also done multiple structure fires, vehicle accidents on I-75, and an explosion in the industrial park. So they are to be commended as well. Watershed is now open, so let's support our new business in downtown. And Parks and Rec Department is going to be adding new pickleball courts. They're changing some of the tennis courts to pickleball because people are going out and playing pickleball on them anyway. And there's cracks and stuff in the courts, and so it's time, we need to take care of them so they don't fall apart. So Elliot worked on that. I signed on it today. As well, Public Works has completed, made repairs to several city buildings, and the things I just mentioned in my staff report. I did forget to mention the Canoe Outpost parking. So it looks a lot better than it did down there too. Already mentioned the farmers market effort. So just lots of good things going on. Thank you.
I'll keep it short. I heard what some of the people said about infrastructure and whatnot, and believe me, we agree with that, all of us. However, I will tell you this, before we jump on the bandwagon of this town is terrible, our water is better now than it's been in years. They have worked extremely hard. Thomas has done an amazing job to get us to where we need to be. I mean, I can remember 5-6 years ago, boiling water every other damn week, it felt like. We're not doing that anymore. Wastewater's getting up to date. We're getting a new plan out there. We are doing a lot. We did more roads this year than we've done ever before. We got both projects done. That was your commission being 100% behind it. So the only thing I would say is, believe me, I understand you have those questions, and maybe we're not doing the best job of getting it out there to you. That should be us as a commission sitting up here and telling you all the stuff that we're doing and bragging on our people. So I'm going to brag on Thomas for a minute and Alan and Christy and everybody, because they are doing one hell of a job. We have a good staff here. I'm telling you, they're working hard. I hear it every day. I get those phone calls, and I used to get phone calls before I ran, honestly, of you need to run because we got problems. And that was a couple years ago, and I told them, no, I can't do it. But since we've been in, I get calls now saying, hey, things have turned around. I want to take credit for that, believe me. Been here since November. I want to say it's all me. It's not. This is a plan that's been in place, and they are doing one heck of a job, and we really need to commend our staff, because I'm telling you, things do not move this quickly in the other government agency I work for. I'll tell you that right now. So we got a good thing out here. It's still that small town feel where you can pick a phone call up and actually speak to somebody who can do something about it. And so I commend them, and I just want to say thank you, Ashley. You're doing a heck of a job. All the way down, all the staff members, they're extremely responsive. I'm just very thankful for being able to sit up here and people giving me credit for stuff I ain't never done. So I appreciate all of y'all, though. Y'all are doing one heck of a job. Keep it up.
Thank you.
To piggyback on that, so I'm looking over all the appropriations funding that was granted for this year. There are tens of millions of dollars that were appropriated for roads in other areas. So I wonder if that might not be something we could think about going forward to get some more money in here. I don't know, what the requirements are to be eligible, but they had, just a big bunches of money for roads, and I wonder if we could maybe seek some of that out for the next fiscal year.
That's a great idea. During the strategic planning session, I wanted to talk to you about future appropriation requests. I also wanted to throw out there the police department as one as well.
Right, right.
Because there's some things going on that would be a good chance for
Right.
us. So yes, definitely, let's talk about that and start planning for the future.
Well, when I talked to Chuck Brandon, he said, we'd never gotten any appropriations for High Springs, so we were ready. We wanted to fight for him, and so he was very, very receptive. So, I think he'd be a champion for us for sure.
Yeah, he was really
told us that.
wonderful when
Yeah.
we went and visited him.
I had a call. I spoke to a lady yesterday that was working with Pastor Sammy, doing literacy outreach. She did literacy tutoring once a week with Pastor Sammy, and now that Pastor Sammy has gone to Hawthorne, she still wants to stay in touch with those kids here in High Springs. So she and I spoke yesterday about what kind of opportunities there may be for us to find a space for her here, and I told her I would talk about it tonight. If we don't have space here or we don't have the capacity here, I'm sure that I could find, room over at the school or somewhere. But she reached out to me, so I told her I would bring that up here. She was lovely. She's a retired educator, really passionate.
I think we can always find room for something like that.
Yeah.
That's important. So I would recommend they get with Elliot,
Okay.
and
Okay.
we'll start working on finding space.
She's only been doing it once a week for about 2.5 hours. She takes kids down for ice cream. She takes them out to play tennis. But she's really formed a bond with the kids that are here.
Yeah, I think
so
that's
she'd prefer to
important.
stay here if she can.
Yes.
But she was lovely. Okay, so should I get with Elliot or should I give him her number?
I'd give him her number and
Okay.
let him talk to her.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll let her know. That would be great. Thank you. In the utility district meeting with the county, you and I talked about it, but I just thought that everybody should be updated in terms of what you and the county, what city staff and the county staff had done, I guess, on the 29th.
Well, basically, we met with them on the interlocal agreement, and the direction from the county was, from my understanding, they mainly want to serve the intersection. So it's being written in such that it's a main line, so there's not going to be hookup from residents all along the way. That it will be primarily used to serve the intersection. Is that what? I can't remember all of our conversations.
Well, I mean, does the news that you shared with us today impact that at all in terms of the water grant not being awarded?
It doesn't, because so the water, we did not get that grant, but there are other opportunities to apply for other grants in the future if the commission decides they want us to. But it doesn't affect the utility district at all, because we can still go ahead and make that and set that in place. And we need to anyway for the wastewater.
So then your intention would be to go forward with the wastewater project without the water project?
Yes, with the wastewater we already have. And
I understand that.
So again, everything's at the will of the commission, and so if the commission's desires to move forward with the wastewater, then my recommendation would be to move forward with the wastewater grant. We're in a springs protection area. I think that's important to take care of the springs, and so anyway, that would be my recommendation, to go ahead and form the utility district and abide by the parameters the county set forth.
Okay. And I know you and I have been talking for probably a year about a room rental agreement, and you said Elliot's working on it.
Yes, Elliot, we've discussed it, correct.
But there have been some changes to the process still in terms of renting rooms before that's finished, right?
So the process was set forth that it's supposed to be that nonprofits get 50% off and other people pay full price. That's how it's supposed to be administered, and that is how we are administering it currently. I understand that there were questions concerning the chamber and them getting, free, not having to pay for the rental for a while. I'm not sure what other groups that was. Groups that we do sponsorships with, that we are partners with, such as Babe Ruth Baseball, they typically have gotten it free because they are a joint partner with us. We provide facilities. They do baseball at our facilities. But Staff went back and looked at that, and it looked like the commission had granted the waiver of the rental fees for the chamber for a quarter, and then they're supposed to come up again if they want continued waiver of the fees, when we looked up the minutes.
So is the waiver still something that's eligible? Because my understanding
She-
was that she was told it was not eligible anymore.
Well, it's not eligible right now. She would have to come back and request it from the commission, and the commission would have to say that she can have whatever the commission decides. So it ran out. If she wants to have a waiver, again, she has to request it from the commission, and then they decide.
Okay,
Anyone who wants a waiver in the community
okay,
has to ask the commission.
okay. And Jan, since you're sitting out there, my Priest Theater, I do actually have some emotion, I promise. I remember when my youngest daughter was having her 5th birthday, and we would do walk-in parties, go have pizza, go have our nails done, have ice cream, and we'd end up at the theater. And I came to you and asked you what was going to be playing in January, because I wanted to have our party end up there. And you said, well, what do you want to see? And it was our 5-year-old birthday party, and you moved Paddington Bear for my daughter. So I promise I'm not devoid of emotion. And I have the shirt with your mama's rules in terms of how you're supposed to dress when you come to the theater. Thank you.
I guess it's a question for Kevin and the city manager. I was talking about this before. You know, a lot of times people get misinformation. People don't get the facts of what's actually going on, and then they're stunt this podium and speak stuff that's not correct, which I think shouldn't be so. So on the web page, whatever, if there a place on there where people can find where they get information from on things before they listen to other stuff on Facebook and all that kind of stuff.
There is, when there's specific news that we want to push forward, then we'll put it out on a multi-platform thing between social media and the website, whether it's a special project or city news in general. If we see obvious erroneous information on social media, I do my best to try to direct people to where the correct information is. That doesn't always necessarily happen because it's kind of one person that's trying to manage all that. But we do try our best to steer people and clear the record as much as we can. And obviously putting forth the proper language and narrative in the commission meetings is also helpful as well. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. So is there information box in there? Say if you have questions, call such and such number. And
Yep. So there's a contact us section, and they can contact the city via phone, through the website or email in general. It's all broken down by department.
Okay.
So the public information has a department, and we get questions through there. My phone number is up on there. They can call or text it if they wanted to. If they have specific questions, then each individual department has ways they can be contacted as well. If there are very specific things that we want to make sure that we effectively communicate without necessarily having to search for it, through the website, then we'll put a banner at the top. So for instance, the farmers market survey is up there right now because that's a big push on the city front. And we want to make things as easy to find and navigable as possible through the website, which is why we redesigned it 2 years ago. And then any of the news will be in that city news section in the bottom left.
okay. So I guess it might be for the attorney. When we're sitting in these meetings, and somebody get up there and make a statement that's pretty much not true or half true, is it appropriate at the meeting to address those at that time? I just don't let people leave him uninformed or misinformed. I think the public need to know what's really going on instead of just, I don't know, just, it bothers me when the truth don't be said, and then some people listen to it, because some people hear negative and positive any day and run with it. So is it something that we can do when somebody make just maybe don't know, but is it possible to do that?
Yes, I think it's your discretion. Sometimes questions come up and you don't know the answer, and it takes research. And so we take those things under advisement and then report back. Ashley, I see her take somebody's number or say, call so-and-so on city staff so we can get the information, leave your contact information. If we don't have the proper data or information right then. But if it's something that we know somebody's laboring under a mistaken belief or that kind of thing, then you can respond. As a commissioner, it's your discretion, direct staff to respond, direct Ashley to find out the answer. All those things are available.
Okay, yeah.
I think one of the thing is a lot of the misinformation isn't on city media. It's also on other websites or social media that we don't have any control over. And so, we can start putting more on our media, but some people are looking at ours and some people are looking at others, and the misinformation can be pretty targeted.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. I'd like for people to be informed instead of leaving this meeting uninformed and we don't respond to it. It's just.
I think when it's a fine line you walk when we it's a fine line between, because we don't want to look like we want to give people the right to kind of talk and have their information flow and everything. But sometimes it does get out of hand, and when it does, we can start doing like more press releases, or we can start. There's more. We can step it up a little. I mean, sometimes the misinformation happens so quickly, it's like it makes your head turn. But I think Kevin's really good about going on social media and responding, better than maybe any PIO that I've ever worked with. He's very active, so I think he's doing a great job. But I think that there's a lot of big things we've been pushing forward, and with that, there's going to be people saying a lot of things, and so I think it's probably my job to provide him more to get the stuff out, because I need to give you more information as we see it happening.
Well, there's always room for improvement everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
None of us are perfect. But we try to be as transparent as possible. And the important thing is when we're developing our strategic communication is let's make sure we have all of our ducks in a row, and we know for sure, and we can anticipate any other questions before we necessarily start putting that language and that narrative out. And that's kind of where the social media comes in is, it's like the game of telephone where, I heard from so-and-so who heard from so-and-so who heard from so-and-so. Well, we all played that game in school, and the story changes when it started on this side
Every time
and ended up here. And you try, and that's kind of the double-edged sword, especially with social media, is because everyone wants that information instantaneously. And, and it's not just us as a city, it's information officers across the entire country and communicators that, as the city and whatever other agencies, put that information out there, we know that social media does not have 100% saturation, which is why you keep reiterating the same messaging, which is why you try to steer people and say, hey, no, that's not entirely correct. This is actually what the truth is. And we try to stay on top of that. But again, sometimes those stories just keep getting pushed further and further and further and further and further. And again, like I said, that's kind of the double-edged sword of social media, which is why it's so important to try to clear the air as best you can, as expeditiously as possible. Because where there is a void of information, and this is where the city saw this before I was hired, is where there's a void of information, someone is going to fill it with something. May not be correct, but they're going to fill it with something, which is why it is important that we do communicate as effectively as possible. And yes, there is room for improvement, on my side too. And that begs the question, with the city manager's direction, when there are items that we notice in a commission meeting that keep coming up and people keep coming up asking the same questions, or I heard this or I heard that, well, do we have a recap of the commission meeting afterwards, whether it's written or video, that hits on those points that we talked about in this commission meeting? Because in the commission meeting we have 15, 20 people that might be streaming, and then we might get some streams afterwards, and then we may have 20 or 30 people, standing before you. But we've got thousands upon thousands who watch on social media or, follow us on social media that don't necessarily see what comes from the commissioner comments or the comments from staff in the meeting. So do we set up a Q&A afterwards? Is the commission was presented with this question, city staff was presented with this question, here's kind of the myth that's going out and here's the truth behind that. And that might be another vehicle to communicate that messaging.
Yes. Okay. And Thomas, so about the water situation. So when y'all do the water test, correct? I don't know how often you do it. So now, do y'all post that type of stuff on the media? What the quality of the water is, or whatever those tests y'all take?
No, sir, we don't. The health department, they put it on their line.
Mhm.
I've had people call, and I'll tell them what website to go to. But now we can, if city manager wants, we can put results. But they do it themselves, the health department.
And I think one of the things going on with that is some people are bringing up issues they had like years
Yes,
ago,
yes.
and that we've actually solved, because they say years ago, they don't say now. Some say now, but some, but it's a lot say years ago.
The annual water quality report that we get is published on the website.
Okay.
I believe it's required to be. And there's various tests that are done at various intervals that are available on the water quality report. And you can view that. It's under Public Works. So if you go to the website and under in City Hall, you can select the department that you want, or you can use the search function and you can type in water quality report, and that'll bring up I think we have the last 4 or 5 years on there or something like that.
Yeah,
Okay.
just not the weekly ones.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's fine, man.
Yeah. I'm just curious. Communication, just so important.
It is.
Just so important.
Well,
Thank
where
you.
I'm from, my past place, we're not going there. Every director had to come to a commission meeting. If there is a question that comes up, y'all, the city manager, has that director answer that question, best of their ability, if you don't know that.
Right.
But it's our job also to make sure the commission, city manager, if y'all are at church, whatever, on weekends, whatever, somebody comes up, I hate to hear you say, I don't know. I want to give you that information. It's my job to make sure you know. So, I may get tarred and feathered by the other directors, but I feel we should all be here to answer. I hear you, Alan.
Yeah. I see.
I feel the night.
Yeah.
But he don't do that.
Yeah.
But that's just where I'm from. We had to be there, no matter what.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And Thomas is right. I mean, rule number 1 of Information Officer School is never say, I don't know.
No. True.
Well, I say that a lot.
Well, I won't say it.
I can find out for you. I don't have the answer,
answer
right
right
now,
now.
but I'd be happy to find out.
Yeah,
for you.
I'll get back with you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But saying I don't
Don't
know,
know.
Yeah.
leaves that void open.
Yeah,
You
that's
always want to follow up with that person, and you
Yeah.
follow up with that person on that subject matter expert. I don't know everything about law enforcement. I'll defer to the guy to my left. I don't know everything about water and wastewater. Well, good thing he does. And that's where you come in and you lean on your department heads to get those answers for you, because we are hiring to our weaknesses. Not everyone is an expert in everything, but combined, we are.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Just again, communication.
Yeah.
You have to go through the mayor.
Come here.
Is there a way I can get a director? Because I have people calling me all the time, and I don't really know where to send some people to.
A directory?
Mm-hmm. An updated one?
Do we have such a thing?
Don't we have a, yeah, and so, and
It's on
you
the
can
website.
always call Kevin, and Kevin will make sure they get to the right place.
Yeah.
So,
And don't they, when you call, don't they go through the different departments?
Because I have an old one that when you were there, that one, you know.
Oh, she's talking about writing. Something
Yeah,
on
so
paper.
I can pull it out
Yeah,
and
she
look
want
at
one
it.
on paper.
on paper, can we
Yeah,
get
we
her
don't
one
ha-
on paper, Kevin?
But yeah, I mean, I can print one out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Kevin will take care of it for you.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry for taking so long, y'all, but
Thank you, Kevin.
I do think we can start doing like a fax page. We did that a couple of times in the past. So when things get a little crazy, then we'll start putting a fax page out to explain more. on the hot topics. So I think that's something we can do that we haven't been doing. We did, but we need to start it up again.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Also, I want to say welcome to Elliot. He said this, let me make sure I say this right now. At the same place I said my Easter speech, he said his also. But I was a few years before him, though. I never had opportunity. Well, let me see, I guess you have been up under my pastorship since I've been there. So I guess he's a part of Mount Carmel also. So some good things can come out of Mount Carmel. That's what I'm trying to tell y'all. Yes, right. Yes, sir. So I say welcome. Good to see you. I can see your dad and he'd be so proud of you. He'd be so proud of you. So welcome, welcome. Anything we can do to help you, please let us do so. And also, JT forgot to mention the backpack giveaway at the National Night Out. Yeah, it'll also be a backpack giveaway at National Night Out. So if anybody like to donate some things, please do so.
School supplies?
School supplies. School supplies, yes. That's all I have.
All right, Vice Mayor?
Okay. I'm going to dovetail off what you brought up, Byron, because I had it too, because the misinformation is really key, and I guess the things that get me the most are the things that are just not accurate. And I guess, should we make sure you're aware of that? Like, there's a post right now that asserts we have asbestos in our water now, and it's like, not only is that untrue, but to allow that to continue as if it is, I think the city should answer that kind of thing. So I don't know what you want us doing. I know sometimes I've tagged you on things, and I feel for you because I don't want you to be in a position, or a public information officer to be in a position where they become part of some debate, online, and that's not what I'm going for. So I don't know where the line is, and I think we need to be looking at for those times when it is appropriate for the city to definitely respond. And maybe one of the things we can do is give the city a voice through our Facebook page, create something like, questions from citizens, and then they send them in, and every week we give answers. We receive these questions, here are the answers. So there's just that attempt to be engaging and actively try and answer simple questions people have. And whether they send it through Facebook or they send it through the web, I don't know, but that's your department. You've done good things since we created your position, and I'm sure you'll continue to do them once you're actually funded. We'll have a bigger budget.
The best thing, if you do see things on social media that you think warrant immediate attention on the commission's part, is to notify the city manager, and she can get in touch with me and say, hey, we saw this comment here. Because again, I'm not going to see every comment every single time, and we don't necessarily want to avoid. We don't necessarily want to tag individual people in their personal accounts, because then you start getting messages that are not so polite on your personal accounts. So we want to make sure that when we do speak, that we are speaking from these official accounts, and even if it's as simple as attempting to reach out to that person individually, but it's just a matter of setting the record straight once and for all and not getting into a back and forth. And if there are specific questions that individual has, then we direct them to call either myself or the city manager or the assistant city manager, whoever the appropriate person is. But yeah, I mean, anytime anyone on city staff or the commission sees something that is glaringly incorrect, then, I would request that the city manager direct, those questions to her that can then be funneled to me.
And I appreciate that, because we do have limited staff, and to help manage the work, because everyone's wearing so many hats. And I know overtime's not a concern in the budget to anyone, right, Diane? But so we're, because Kevin can have unlimited overtime with everything going on. So, but yes.
Yeah. So.
But yes, but please send it to me, and I will tag Kevin when he needs to respond. Some things I can respond to.
Okay, and then just dovetailing on the ideas, it keeps coming up here in the commission chamber, citizens' concerns about us allowing, growth in the community. And it's not, thankfully, there are protections in place that make it so we can't arbitrarily just stop growth and people stop doing things with property, because there's a process in place. And I think citizens need to understand, where Tallahassee mandates certain things in the comprehensive plans. Our comprehensive plan drives zoning and a lot of other issues, and our land development codes design this. And that's to create an equal playing field between, 100 citizens who currently live here and someone who's bought a piece of property that, they have a right to do something with that property. So it's hard, but I think we need to do more in that education sphere of what are the rules that we're working with and what are these processes. And then my last question is when does our full-time new codes enforcement officer start?
On Monday.
All right.
So one thing I just want to add to that, and I will make it short, is that I think the thing people need to realize is that we're not opening the gates to everyone. We are actually trying to manage growth. So as you said, people have certain property rights, and we're doing the best we can to manage the growth. The other thing about it is there are many projects that don't make it to you because we're doing growth management at our office before it gets to you. And there have been things that we have recommended to turn down. We are not recommending to approve everything. So I think sometimes people forget the subdivisions that we have recommended denial on.
22-acre lake with homes around it was going to be built. Don't laugh.
There's some crazy things we've had to spend time on that would not be good for the community that haven't made it up here. So
Yes.
That's it.
That's it? Well, each meeting, I try to reach out to staff and your employees and give you all the kudos in the world that I think you deserve. Because none of this that we accomplished, we could do without your help, your effort. And I want you to know I do appreciate it. And with that, I'm not going to complain about anything tonight. I'm going to ask for a motion so we can go home.
Motion to adjourn.